I still remember the first time I saw her. It was the first week of ninth grade, and I had just transferred to a school in a small town far from where I grew up. Everything felt strange. New classrooms, unfamiliar faces, teachers with thick accents, and rules I hadn't yet learned. But amidst all the chaos, there was one moment that made everything pause. She was sitting in the third row from the front, next to the window. Sunlight poured in and landed on her desk, almost like the universe was spotlighting her presence. Her eyes were on the teacher, but her fingers were gently sketching something in the margin of her notebook. I couldn't tell what it was, but it didn't matter. She looked peaceful, and that peace hit me like a storm that I had no idea what her name was. I didn't know anything about her, but I knew I wanted to know. The next few days, I watched her from a distance, not in a creepy way, but in that quiet, careful way you do when you're afraid to break something beautiful by getting too close. Her laugh was rare, but when it came, it filled a room. She wasn't loud or popular or dramatic like other girls in our class. She was something else entirely, soft, real, and always thinking about something that no one else could see. One afternoon, fate, or maybe luck, put me in the seat behind her in the library during study period. I dropped my pen on purpose just to get her attention. It was stupid, but I had to try. She turned slightly, looked at me with the faintest smile, and whispered, "You dropped something." Her voice was calm, like water. And that one sentence, that was the beginning of everything. Over the next few weeks, we spoke more, little conversations in hallways, shared notes in class, and occasional laughter at lunch. Her name was Zara. She loved poetry, old books, and hated math with a passion. Her dream was to become a writer. She once said, "Words are the only place I feel completely free," and I understood her in that moment more than I had ever understood anyone else. I was the opposite in many ways, born in a big city, loud in my thoughts, fluent in sarcasm, and always a little too fast for the world around me. But with her, I slowed down. Her calm became my silence. Her words became the poetry I didn't know I needed. We never called it love. Not then. We were only 16. But sometimes, love doesn't need a name to be real. I still remember the dull echo of her words in my ears when she told me, "I'm moving. My father got transferred. We're leaving next month." I laughed nervously. "You're kidding, right?" Her eyes were full of sadness, but no tears. Zara never cried. Not in front of anyone. She just said, "I wish I was." I felt something collapse inside me. It wasn't just sadness. It was the kind of ache that settles in your chest and refuses to leave. 1,000 things rushed through my mind. What if I told her how I felt earlier? What if I had just one more month? What if the universe wasn't so cruel? The last few weeks before she left felt like a blur. Every moment was a countdown. We sat under the big tree in the schoolyard during lunch, pretending everything was normal, but every silence between us felt heavier than before. One evening, a day before she was supposed to leave, I walked her home. We didn't say much, but when we reached her gate, I stopped. "I don't want you to go," I said. She looked up at me, the streetlight glowing over her head like a halo. "I don't want to go either." "Then stay." "I can't," she whispered, "but I'll stay in other ways." I didn't know what that meant at the time. All I knew was that I wanted to hug her, to hold her hand, to tell her all the things I had kept buried inside my heart. But I just stood there, frozen between words and fear. Before she stepped inside, she turned and said, "Promise me something?" "Anything. Don't forget me." I nodded, trying to smile. "Never." That night, I wrote her a letter. A real one. Not a text, not a voice note. An actual letter on paper, with ink smudged by my shaking fingers. I told her everything. How she made me feel, how her smile became my peace, how I hated that I didn't tell her all of this sooner. I slipped it into her locker early next morning. I don't even know if she got it, and just like that, she was gone. Weeks passed, then months. And we kept in touch. Texts at night, long paragraphs about our days, voice messages when the distance felt too loud. We talked about everything, school, life, memories, and dreams we were still chasing. She would send me pictures of books she was reading, and I'd send her songs that reminded me of her. It wasn't enough, but it was something. And sometimes, something is all you need to keep going. One day, she texted me, "Sometimes I close my eyes and pretend I'm back under that tree, with you beside me. And in that moment, it feels like I never left." I stared at that message for hours. That night, I recorded a voice note. "You didn't leave, Zara. You're still here. Every time I walk past that tree, I hear your laugh. Every time I see poetry in my notebook, I remember your words. You stayed in all the ways that mattered." But deep down, I knew what was happening. Distance is a quiet thief. It doesn't steal everything at once. It takes small pieces every day. The way we texted became less often. The voice notes became shorter. School got busier. Life moved forward, but a part of me stayed frozen in that moment at the gate, under the streetlight. Still, I held on, because when something begins with a glance, it doesn't end with a goodbye. It's strange how time stretches when you miss someone. In the first few weeks after Zara left, everything reminded me of her. The classroom seat she once sat in, the tree we used to sit under, the echoes of her laughter in quiet hallways. Her absence wasn't just physical, it echoed in the empty spaces she used to fill. We texted every night at first. She'd tell me about her new school, how different it was, how the teachers weren't as kind, and how much she missed the slow peace of her old town. I'd tell her how school felt dull without her, how the tree missed her shade, and how I still checked the library seat behind mine even though I knew she wouldn't be there. But slowly things began to shift, not in a loud, dramatic way. No shouting, no harsh words, just silence where words used to be. Did I remember the first time she didn't reply at IT was a Thursday evening. I had sent her a long message, something about a funny thing that happened in chemistry class. I waited. Minutes passed, then hours, then the whole night, and oh response did I stared at my screen, unlocking it every few minutes like a fool. The next morning I still found nothing. For the first time in months, I felt a kind of cold that had nothing to do with weather. When she finally replied the next day, it was short. "Sorry. Was busy with some family stuff." No emojis. No warmth. Just words that I didn't say anything. I couldn't. Because I knew something was changing. Or maybe we were a few weeks later, I heard her voice after a long time. She sent me a voice note. I must have listened to it 10 times. "Hey, I know I haven't been talking much. I guess I've just been caught up in everything. New place, new people. I'm trying to adjust. But I think about you a lot. Just don't think I've forgotten, okay?" I smiled, but it hurt, because even in her voice, I could hear it. That quiet distance that grows not just between places, but between hearts. I replied with one line. "Even when we don't talk, I still carry you in every part of my day." And that was true. I did. We kept trying.